Torques one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. There's a drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. Playing a high drive into left. Back towards the creek. He's at the track. He has it. The world champion for 2011. A little bounces slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it, throw to Rizzo. It's in time, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
This is the Team of Rivals podcast. No insiders, no anonymous sources, just passionate analysis from the bleacher seats. Here are your hosts, Ron Nuttall and Peter Geddes.
All right, we get a little bit to talk about tonight. We both have a couple arms we can discuss. D. Gordon to the Mariners, and the Mariners now, I think, jumping up to the front of the pack for that name that I really don't want to talk about anymore. But the Mariners have more money, and the industry believes that they are now at the front of the line, the heavy favorites. I don't know, heavy, that might be a little too strong, but they do believe that they have the inside track, and they could be the favorites to land that one guy from Japan that I don't want to say his name anymore. Mo is preaching to Cardinal fans, please be patient on the Giancarlo Stanton. Patience is our strength right now. If you know you're not going to do anything, that's okay. Whatever. Say that for later. And then if we have any time, let's talk about something that's totally exciting. We get really in depth in this and really drill down and talk about the impact of the pitch clock. Holy, I'm gonna ruin it already, man. I'm gonna ruin it as we get out of the gate. Holy shit. The pitch clock. Let's talk about that impact later. In the meantime, I never am I able to do this thing alone. Trust me, you don't want me alone in front of a microphone for 30 minutes to an hour. I don't know what's going to come flying out of my mouth, so that's why I bring this guy along with me on this 1 year journey. We actually started this about a year ago, right? A year ago tomorrow night, I believe, is when we recorded our very first show.
A year ago this exact week. And it's been thrilling, I have to say, for me anyway. I know I said it probably right around New Year's that this is one of the best things that we've done, and I'm very grateful to you for it. I can't believe that we've been doing this for 52 weeks and we haven't shot each other. We've done it in person. We've done it literally halfway around the world. And it continues to be fun. And to that end, Ron, yes. I do want to say, since we are celebrating our 1 year anniversary, and since this is officially, we discussed it this week, this is the start of season 2. So season 2, episode 1. Do me a favor, Ron. Go ahead and hit cut 1.
Gotcha.
Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. For a cheerful toast and fill it, happy anniversary. But be careful, you don't.
This is a minute and a half.
I know.
Oh my God. All right.
Do you know what this is from?
I don't, man. I'll probably kick myself.
Fred, you remembered.
How could I ever forget the happiest day of my life?
Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
I really don't know.
Well, thanks, fellas. It sure was.
And happy, they're both as happy as can be. Celebrating merrily their happy anniversary.
And I didn't forget you, darling. Happy anniversary.
A tie with spots on it already.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Just what I always needed.
Oh, Fred.
Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
All right, fellas, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
The good news is there's only 30 seconds left.
And we'll link to this. In fact, I'll put the link up in just a minute.
Happy anniversary. Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy.
Seriously.
Happy anniversary.
All right, knock it off.
So there you have it from the Flintstones.
Flintstones, yes. Fred gave it away.
the happy anniversary song.
Okay.
And so I'll link that video momentarily.
A minute and a half plus of that song.
A minute and a half plus of that song. I did trim off the trail, the lead, but we had to hear it all the way because this is our anniversary week. And so,
all right.
As Fred said, the happiest day in my life. And I also have to apologize. I was neglectful last week when you and I got together, and I'm sure that part of it was because I missed the earlier one, and I was a little frustrated to have not only not been part of the first episode last week, but also to have missed out on your brother's inaugural episode of the Bad Critic podcast. And that was I neglected in my duties. So, Ron, do me a favor. Go ahead, hit cut 2.
Okay. I'm almost frightened to do this. All right.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you.
And of course, that's Marilyn Monroe singing to President Kennedy, correct?
Of course. Very well. Well done. Well done indeed, my friend.
I paid attention to my history. History was one of my strong subjects.
It was television history, whatever. And so something that we didn't touch on, obviously one of the things that we were wanting to do early on.
Yes.
You did introduce me, but you didn't introduce me. So I'm obviously Ron's co-host, Peter.
Everybody. Well, they might be confused now, right? Because we've had
they could be. You've had a couple of guest hosts.
We've had some stand-ins. We've had,
But to that end, on Instagram, Team of Rivals Podcast, on Twitter at Team of Rivals Pod, and then obviously we also have our Facebook account, Team of Rivals Podcast, and there is the website, which my partner so ably administers, teamofrivalspodcast.com. So there's that. We swore that we would start moving it to the front, so there it is.
Yeah, no, we did that, and you did a nice job. That was the first time that we did that effectively, because I did it ineffectively before. I was actually thrilled. My brother released his very first podcast just yesterday, and that was the Bad Critic podcast. He's been talking about that thing for about a year, but I understand what it's like, when you're Pete. We had a hot topic. I mean, we had a subject, and when we started ours, it was the Cubs had come off the heels of a World Series, and but of course we had talked about this as early as when the playoffs began,
right?
And we actually started it up in a couple of months. But I think before that, it's like we had thoughts in our head about it, right? I mean, it wasn't it wasn't like the idea came out of the sky and we started it 2 months later. But I understand it's a hard thing to do. I mean, it sounds great. I mean, we all a lot of us enjoy downloading and listening to these things. It's a whole different ballgame when you get behind a microphone and
you realize how much work it is.
You realize how much work it is, and you realize how silly you sound afterwards. And it's like it's like a lot of other people. It's really tough for me sometimes to go back and listen to myself talk, especially a year ago. I mean, my God, those first episodes, I'm going to archive those soon because I don't ever want to listen to them again. We'll bring those out on occasion for historical purposes or for comedy, because man, did I sound like a goon on that first episode. If you go back and listen to it, it's just like this is like a bad actor trying out for a part he has no business trying out for, and that's if you go back and listen to it, that's exactly what it sounded like. But I think we've come a long way in a year, and so I have as much fun firing this stuff up every week as I did on our very first shows. Even though I was a little more frightened at that point, it's still thrilling. But so winter meetings next week, and they pushed it back a week later this year. This is slightly disappointing, right? I mean, it would have been kind of a since really this is officially 1 year, it would have been great if the winter meetings started, because remember last year we had we started our show or just as they wrapped up anyway.
Right.
That's okay. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about going into it, and I think this off season is much more interesting because we have a couple big names out there. And all right, before we go into them, I'm going to go into the first one.
But not just the big names, but also the dam is starting to break. We've been complaining the last couple of weeks about how nothing has been happening this off season.
Right.
But the dam started to break just in the last, I'd say 48 hours.
Well, and you're right. You're absolutely right. So you're going right where I was going. And there have been 3 moves so far. There have been 2 free agent signings. I mean, of significance, right, Pete? There have been some minor league transactions that we're not. I mean, we talk about them, and then people stop listening.
Well, there have been.
And go download a different one. But
I would say there were 3. There have been 3 significant signings, and they've all really been pitchers, which is interesting too.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I say 3 because I was actually I forgot about who's the third, because obviously we're talking about
Mike Minor, and the only reason
Mike
that
Minor,
I know that is
right,
because he was somebody that reportedly the Cubs were looking at to bring in to help with the back of their bullpen.
Right.
But
so let me correct myself. I think
he signed with the Rangers as a starter.
Well, I think there have been 4 transactions that have happened, and not 3. So there've been 4. We've got the Mike Minor signing with the Rangers because the Cubs were reportedly to have a strong interest in him, and then we had both of our teams picked up a pitcher within the last few days, and so I don't know. We haven't had a chance to talk about this, so I don't know how you feel about the signing you had. It's always kind of both of them are interesting cases, Pete, because it's not like either pitcher was signed in a normal circumstance. It's different, right? If you guys would have signed somebody out of a West Coast team, and I mean West Coast team, I truly mean West Coast, not West Division, Western Division, but you're signing somebody from Colorado, and that comes with question marks, right? The road splits are fantastic. At home, obviously they're bad, but then again, it's Colorado. So what version are you going to get? Like, where is that pitcher going to fall on the scale? And then in the Cardinals case, they're picking up somebody that had been pitching the last 3 seasons in Japan. So obviously that comes with a lot of questions too. So I don't think we truly know what we're going to get, right? We're going to get a much different version of a pitcher than what both of these guys were 1 year ago. And
also with the Cubs, not just the fact that he's got tremendous road splits, but also this is a guy who has had Tommy John surgery not once but twice. How healthy is he? And also how durable is he? How much can you count on him? He slots in great as a 4 or 5 receiver, or I'm sorry, a 4 or 5 pitcher, but still, it feels like deja vu. We're looking at a guy who's got tremendous upside, but who also could end up disappointing, and not coming through. And the big difference is they're on the hook with him for 3 years now. And obviously we're talking about Tyler Chatwood. They took a flyer on Brent Anderson, but that was only 1 year. This is 3 years. So this is, and it's 3 years for significant money. I think what I saw is $38 million. And if he gets a single Cy Young vote in 18 or 19, he gets a $2 million bonus. If he gets a single Cy Young vote in 18 and 19, he gets a $4 million bonus. So this, this has the potential to hurt.
That'd be a good problem to have, I think. If he actually did get a Cy Young vote, that means it's going to be a pretty good signing.
But it's not necessarily a good problem to have and I'm sure they were only doing it tongue in cheek. You take a look.
To pay that. If you had to pay either of those, trust me, man, that's a good problem to have. If he gets any Cy Young votes at all, that means you got a value out of it.
Not necessarily. Not if a journalist decides that he's going to screw with the Cubs.
Let's put a little bit of little bit of naiveness behind that, and let's just say that nobody's going to vote like an idiot. And
I don't know. There are some out there. There was a ballot I saw today. And last year he abstained from voting, but I believe, unless I'm mistaken, I believe he's a Cleveland writer. On his Hall of Fame ballot this year, he only voted for Jim Tomei and Omar Vizquel, maybe, and nobody else. So don't put it past a baseball writer to be an idiot.
I don't. And yes, I completely understand it. There are idiots out there. Some idiots just give away their votes, and we talked about him, I think, a few weeks ago. But anyway, so we have a couple pitchers, and in the Cardinals case, he had been in the pros. I think he'd come up with Texas, had some, let's call it tepid success, and I think he went to San Diego for a few years and ended up finding himself in Japan, where he had a 2. Gosh, I just had the number in front of me, so I'm sorry, folks. A 2.1 something ERA over 3 years.
Yeah,
he had like a 2 ERA. Now it's Japan, guys, and so we don't know how that's going to translate over to the U.S. We truly don't. Now the one thing he said he did learn while he was over there was just control, because, and this is interesting because I haven't directly read or heard this before, but it doesn't surprise me. in that league over there, they just don't strike out a lot. I mean, they'll literally throw their bat at a ball to foul it off, and there's not.
Right.
And so he had to learn control and location, and which is something he struggled with over here. So it'd be interesting to see, okay, well, how does that work? Now, I think about this, Pete, and this is just me theorizing this. So if he's learning control and pinpoint accuracy and trying to get, balls over the strike zone more often, how's that translate to the big leagues, where if you get balls over the strike zone too often, you're screwed. Because,
Right.
We have some pretty good hitters that will punish you for that. So it's, I think it's an unknown.
It's tough to look at his peripherals, right? Because contact management in Japan is very different from contact management here in the States. They're not nearly swinging for the fences the way that they are here. They're not selling out the same way. So, what does that translate to when you're looking at contact management? You can throw it in the zone in Japan and you're probably going to pay less for it on the scoreboard than you would if you're just throwing a pitch to get contact here in the States. Because if you miss by a quarter inch, it's in the seats.
Yeah, and you know what, Pete? A quote like that, and reading, and the more I read about this kind of stuff, about players going, some of our players moving over there, and then other players that are Japanese by birth coming over here, but then there are American players that go over there, then end up back here, American players that go to Korea and back. It makes me really want to watch a couple games, a Japanese professional baseball league games. I don't think I've sat through a whole one, but I'd be very curious now as to. I'd be even more.
You know what we should do?
I'm more motivated now to go watch one, like in person.
Here's what we need to do, Ron.
Yeah.
I think we finally have a reason for us to set up a Patreon account. So to all of our listeners, we're going to set up a Patreon account. Send Ron and I to Tokyo. We need to take in a Japanese baseball game in person. Who will be the first one? Elliot? Dad? Somebody pay for us to go to Japan. This is a legitimate business expense.
It is. It doesn't get any more real than that. No, but to be honest with you, though, I kind of did some searching online. I'm like, I'd love to just catch, even if it's just a broadcast to start off with. I would love to see.
I hear a bonus episode. Ron and Pete watch KBO.
Nippon Ham Fighters. That's what I'm going to see. I don't know where they're at, though. I think that's where that's the Otani team, and evidently the climate is similar to Seattle, by the way.
Otani. Shohei.
Okay, so I'm going to go into the next subject, Pete, that I was going to talk about earlier. And here's the thing. So
do you want to talk about Shohei Otani?
I'd rather hear it pronounced that way, because I tell you what, it sounds better to me. No, I'm not kidding. No, so I'm going into semi-serious mode here.
Hang on just a second. I'm just going to turn off my mic and let Ron go. Enjoy, folks.
All right. So here's my deal with the Shohei thing, and I'd say with Stanton, same thing. I'm ready for these guys now. With all due respect, I mean it's their life. They got to make a big decision. I get it, and I put just as much blame on the American sports press. I am so sick of hearing his name, and I am especially sick of hearing the way American sports broadcasters, baseball talk radio, say his name, because you have grown-ass men that have deep voices and can hold their own anywhere. The way they say his last name, why do they instantly turn into sissies when they say his last name? Ohtani. Like, what the hell are you saying that name for like that? And I've heard it all morning on my drive to work. Say it like Pete just did. Just try to mimic a Japanese accent, because that sounds much better. I am so sick of hearing this guy's name. It's nothing personal. I hope he has a lot of success over here, just like Ichiro did. But I am so freaking tired of hearing his name pronounced. Stop it. Stop that crap. Some of you, ask somebody in Japan, how do you pronounce it? What makes you sound like a grown adult pronouncing his last name? Please, somebody. I'm tired of it. You got somebody who has a deep voice, who talks. They use their diaphragm. How you doing? Did you watch the Bears this weekend? But when it'd be like this. Hey, you guys want to watch football and talk about Otani? When you say it, oh my God, stop it. Ridiculous.
Do you want to talk about Mike now too?
Well, nobody says Giancarlo Stanton like a sissy when they say it. hey, where do you think Giancarlo Stanton's going to go? They don't go, hey, where do you think Giancarlo Stanton's going to go? Like, why does everybody think that they need to speak in some kind of different tone when they speak a foreign player's last name, right?
Well,
why can't you just say Ohtani?
It's hard to say Giancarlo. It doesn't work.
No, right? I mean, it's like
listen to you going up a couple octaves.
But they slow it down when they say his full, especially his full name. That's the worst one. That's like nails on a chalkboard, right? I mean, when they say his full name, they slow down, right? We speak at a certain tempo, but when they say his name, it slows down. Like, oh, we're talking about the pitch clock this week, and then Shohei Ohtani, and then it's like I can't take it anymore, Pete. The guy needs to figure out where he wants to play. And thank God, what's today? The 7th? He's got, 15 days?
15 days.
15 days to sign with the team. That's his own personal, I guess, deadline. I don't know. Is that an official deadline? Is that Major League Baseball?
That's an official deadline.
That's part
of the agreement.
Part of the agreement.
21 days to make up his mind.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's several reasons I'm hoping this next week speeds by. One, because we're going to be watching a kick-ass movie, I think, exactly 1 week from tonight, and not thinking about baseball, which we're going to figure out our schedule around this one.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
It's going to be a problem. And then we got the winter meeting.
There may not be an episode next week.
No, Jesus, there will be an episode next week. I don't care. We will do it.
We'll be talking about Star Wars, but there'll be an episode.
Our loyal listeners are going to be surprised. And guys, I'm sorry, but you know what's coming, right? You know that it's big Star Wars news, and you just want to come in to be like, hey, college football, single, what a middle-aged guy, I just want to talk about sports. Well, No. There's going to be some episodes. Read the descriptions carefully, folks. If it says anything about Star Wars in it, bypass that week. You're not going to offend me. But anyway, so next week's going to be overload, right? I mean, how the hell am I going to keep up with anything? We've got the winter meetings happening next week, so there's going to be some disappointment, some joy, hopefully, that the Cardinals end up finding a middle of the order bat. But then there's Star Wars that's going to come out on Friday night. So I'm going to go completely insane by midnight Thursday, because I'm gonna have to process a bunch of things. Pete and I are going to record next week. It's just a matter of when and where, and it will come, because we can't avoid putting out a podcast on a week of a winter meeting, right? I mean, if we have big news that drops like on a Wednesday night or something, it's I'll record myself.
So winter meetings.
I'll pretend you interject, and you can just record later. And it'll be great.
Winter meetings start on Monday, right?
The guys start arriving there on Sunday. Yes, then they officially kick off on Monday.
And then they go, if I remember right, it goes through Friday, right?
I think those things typically last about.
I think
we recorded our first show. It was on a Thursday, though. We recorded our first show on a Thursday.
But were they done? I think it's the 10th through the 14th.
They wrapped up on Thursday.
Okay. Well, so then it might not be a bad thing for us to record it on Saturday. So maybe Saturday morning, Ron and I will be getting up early to record.
Yeah, but if something insane happens, dude, I'm getting on.
Of course.
It's
as long as, well, you know what's going to happen? It's going to happen on Thursday night.
While I'm at the theater, and then assholes are going to be texting me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Our phones are going to be blowing up, and we're not even going to know it because I'm turning my damn phone off. I don't want to know.
Yeah, I won't have my phone on in there. No. I'm not going to have my phone on in the theater. My wife knows that. And so it's only 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, man. You know how glad I was to hear that? Some people roll their eyes and go, God, that movie's too long. Seriously, dude, you can't have a Star Wars movie that's too long.
No.
Not unless you lived under a rock or you grew up in a communist country and you weren't allowed to watch it. Then I understand why you wouldn't care. But if you're any civilization whatsoever, and you hear a Star Wars movie is going to go over 2 hours and you complain about it, get the hell out of here.
You're not a real Star Wars fan.
No, you're not.
I just hope that it's.
You've lived under a goddamn rock your whole life.
I just hope that it's 2.5 hours that are worth it.
Oh, yes, I think it's going to be. I think this is the one, Pete. This is the payoff one. This is the.
I think so.
From frustrations we've had at some point in time. Yes, this is the Star Wars exodus. We're going to be delivered. We are going to be delivered 1 week from tonight, I predict.
That would be nice. Yeah, it's December 10th through the 14th. So they'll wrap up on Friday. So it would actually make some sense, obviously, if there's some blockbuster news that happens during the week. Well, it'll have to be late.
there's a risk at recording our podcast too late.
And that's that Ron's asleep or drunk.
Yeah, 50-50 there. So anyway, we probably need to get on with business here. So the Shohei. So we talked a little bit about our pitches. I mean, let's go on.
Shohei.
Oh boy. Is there anything else you have to say about the pitcher the Cubs acquired, the Chatwood? I mean, is it just one of those things? Is wait and see? Is it depth? Is it insurance policy? Is it truly a replacement to a Lackey? Or it's definitely not Arrieta, so let's not go there. But is it?
No, I think
is it a safe replacement for Lackey?
Yeah, from what I've surmised, they're looking at this as a Lackey replacement, and I have no problem with it, because what it does is it takes a little bit of the pressure off. Theo and Jed have a reputation for being guys who strike early particularly in free agency, and this is just in keeping with that. They identified a need, and now it takes some of the pressure off at the winter meetings and in also their dealings with other free agents, where they don't have to sign 2 starting pitchers. Now they only have to identify 1. So it makes it easier. Are they going to sign Alex Cobb? Are they going to make a trade for potentially Chris Archer or somebody else that we don't know is on the market right now? There's not that desperation of, oh my God, we have to get Alex Cobb and who?
Or we have to get Arrieta back. I mean, we're screwed. We're right dead.
Right, because it would be in Arrieta's interest, honestly, to play this out, as try to get the Cubs back in on it and get them backed into a corner where, well, now I think it's probably fairly safe to say that they're out of the Jake Arrieta market. They only have to get one pitcher.
You think this takes them out of it?
I think it does.
Okay. I
really do.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, because I had heard some rumblings. I mean, before this news dropped, I believe last night, even on the ride home, I heard that there were a lot of sports writers lobbying. The Cubs really should be considering bringing him back because of this and this. And so it's curious. Okay, so you see it as kind of an answer to that, right? That's
I do, because
close the chapter.
I think that there. And obviously, I don't know anything. This is purely speculation on my part. But I think that there are enough people in the market for Jake Arrieta that he's going to get 6 or 7 years. And that's just too long for the Cubs. Yeah. They're not going to be interested in signing him to a 6 or 7 year contract. The nice thing about where they stand right now is 4/5 of their rotation is now locked in through 2020. That's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, it is. And so in the Cardinals case, I don't know if I haven't heard his name pronounced, but I think it's is it Nicholas?
I think it's Miles Mikolas.
So I think with him, it's kind of surprising that was the first. Well,
that's somebody that the Cubs supposedly were scouting as well.
Yeah, and I think the Cardinals had interest in him in the past too, if I remember what I read correctly. But okay, so John Mozeliak is saying that as far as starters go, the Cardinals are done. Right? They're not looking at any more starting pitching. So the fear that some pockets of Cub fans may have had that Arrieta would end up in a Cardinals uniform, you can put that anxiety aside now, and you can either look at him in the dugout or on the mound 19 times a year in a Brewers uniform, or he's going to go somewhere else, and you're barely going to hear or see from him again, I think.
So Ron, let's put this in its proper perspective. If I had told you at the end of October that the Cardinals were going to strike first and sign the pitcher out of Japan, you would have been pretty happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been thinking of this guy though. That's the problem.
You would have thought it was going to be Shohei.
I might have more. I might have more talent. Understand this, folks. Let me clear myself up here, because it's not his name that annoys me. It's the way our radio guys and news guys are talking about it over here. I just can't stand it. Can't stand it. Maybe they're pronouncing it right. Nope, not at all, man. I mean, anyway. But you know what? It's overexposure to the talk of this whole thing that's just killing me. It's my own fault, Pete. I mean, because I follow baseball so hard and heavy that I expose myself to it so much. But the guy needs a nickname.
Yours or Otani? Because your guy has a nickname.
Okay.
Are you aware of this?
No, I must have missed this. Hang on. Well, here, Pete.
Okay.
So I'm guilty of doing something I never should do ever. So I think, well, first of all, I think, well, there's a lot of things I never should do. But this is one of them that I've actually gone on record here of complaining about, and I've been looking at it all night long. And that is, I've been on MLB.com because I've got their app on my iPad, so that's where I've been reading the stuff. And of course, that website is never going to pick up on anything interesting. So if the guy has a nickname, MLB.com would be the last ones to report on.
Now we're talking about Miles Mikolas and not Shohei Ohtani, right?
Yeah.
Okay. His nickname is
both. Let's call it both. Okay, go ahead.
Miles Mikolas' nickname, and he picked this up while he was in Japan. His nickname is the Lizard King because
he ate a live lizard.
He ate a live lizard.
Yeah, they had that on. I think they had that video clip on Intentional Talk yesterday, and that's where I saw it the first time. And it is disgusting.
So there you go. He has a nickname. He's the Lizard King.
Yeah. Like Jim Morrison.
Like Jim Morrison.
That's right. The Doors, man. Love that band.
No, you don't.
All right.
No.
Oh yeah, man.
Nobody loves the Doors.
I used to love the Doors when I was younger. I used to have I had their 6 albums. They were great. The Soft Parade, LA Woman.
No, nobody loves.
I almost said Rubber Soul. That's not
the Doors.
Definitely not. It's definitely not. Yeah.
Dustin he doesn't even listen to the podcast, and he just threw something at a wall in disgust.
No. You know why he didn't? It's because the Doors and the Beatles are too mainstream, and he doesn't pay attention or listen to them anymore.
I know, but he felt a great disturbance in the force.
I doubt it. Anyway, so we've got some other things. You're right. So then there's the Otani news. We think that so the Mariners seem like they would be favorites by industry, right? By people who talk about this and follow it every day. They think the Mariners are at the front of the line. But do you still feel that way, Pete? What are your thoughts, at least hopes, now that the Cubs are still in this?
Honestly, I thought that the Cubs were long shots from the beginning. I'm certainly hopeful. I thought they were long shots from the beginning. I just looking at it and seeing what's been happening the last couple of days, and also the fact that Theo didn't want to address it. He was asked today about the Chatwood signing, and then they tried to get him to talk on Ohtani, and the only thing that he said is, out of respect to the process and the player, we're not going to say anything about it. Anything that's going to come out of the process as it relates to the Cubs, we're going to allow CAA to make that statement. That, and then seeing what the Angels and the Mariners have done in the last 24 hours, it makes me think that the Cubs are probably out on this. And who knows, maybe that was part of the reason, that was part of the impetus to get Tyler Chatwood signed, was because Theo and Jed have a sense that it's not going to go any further.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. Your hopes on acquiring Otani were the same as mine with Stanton. That would be a very, very nice thing to have, but that's a very non-Cardinal thing to do. So my expectations for that actually happening, although a couple weeks ago when we went on, there were reports that the Cardinals are really in consideration here. It's not just the Marlins playing them to push the price on for prospects from others. I think they were in play. But my expectations have not changed. I'm still not hopeful for that it'll happen. You know what? I'm not going to be that disappointed either, because in order to be disappointed about something, that means that I expected it to happen, and I never did in the first place. I don't care. My only hope is this ends quickly, that he's able to make a decision. He either stays with the Marlins and holds out for the Dodgers, or accepts a trade to San Francisco and just get it over with. Because these two moves right here with that guy and Stanton.
Shohei.
These two really are. They're clogging up other moves that are going to occur. And I don't think a lot of GMs are going to sit around on their hands next week. I mean, they're at the GM meetings for a reason. We know what happens there. So I'm looking forward to it because I want these two things to end. They were fun while they lasted, right? It was fun to read things, and it's fun to follow Twitter and see what was happening. But I'm both bored and annoyed at this point. Let's just go. Let's go on the other things. And I never expected, as November rolled around, never expected to see Giancarlo Stanton in a Cardinal uniform in the first place. It's just ridiculous. It's not what they do. It's not how they do it. So, nope. Push. Let's go.
Yeah, but I think that either because so many teams.
You realize what I've just done here, right? I've set myself up for a win-win.
Yeah, you have.
Because I said, if it doesn't happen, I've already been on record saying, I don't care.
Yeah.
But
if it
does happen, there's a way to
surprised.
There's a way to take both sides of the argument. It's called the Ron way.
That's right. Well, but I feel the same way about Ohtani. It would be phenomenal to get,
right.
and I think this is true of any team, not just the Cubs. It'd be phenomenal to get him because not only does he take care of 2 roster spots, supposedly, not only does he take care of 2 roster spots in one player, he's going to be so unbelievably cheap that he's going to provide whatever team he has with tremendous financial flexibility for the next, 5-6 years?
Well, how many years is that cover, though? I mean, how many years until he can become a full free agent with no restrictions? Isn't it only a couple?
I think he comes in as the same as any other player. So he's got 6-7 years of our control, depending on when he gets called up.
I think we're going to have to look at that, man, because here's the thing. You might be right, Pete.
Now you can sign him to an extension. You can absolutely sign him to an extension and buy out his arbitration years. But if you want to play it, I think that he may come in on that time. I don't know.
Wow, because if you'd have just waited 2 more years, he comes in as an unrestricted.
Correct, and then he can blow out budgets.
Idiot. Anyway, you know what? Maybe he's already made his money in Japan. He knows he's going to, so he doesn't care. I mean,
or maybe he knows. And this is something we didn't get to the other night when we talked about it. I actually did the research. Yeah. He's assuming that he lives up to the hype. He is going to be by far the youngest Japanese star to come over.
Oh, yeah.
There have only been 2 other guys who have come over as young as he is.
Right.
Every other guy who's come over and had any kind of impact in Major League Baseball has been at least 26, 27 years old. I mean, Fuck You Do Me was 31 when he came over to the Cubs.
Hold on.
What?
Hold on.
Kosuke Fuck You Do Me. Spell his name. Spell his name.
And the
Fukuudome. Kosuke Fuck You Do Me.
That's a very American way of pronouncing it. That should be his first name. His last name should be and the horseshoe within.
Well, he did fuck us. He did fuck us. But I mean, so he was 31 when he came over, and there hasn't really been an impact Japanese player who's come over who was any younger than 26, 27. So if Ohtani comes in and does even a fraction of what people are saying he's capable of, he's going to have an impact on Major League Baseball for a long time. He's going to make his money.
Still, you know what's unique about him is he's not writing checks with his own mouth, which is amazing. He's not the one doing this. It's the media doing this.
Everybody else.
Everybody, you're right. Everybody else but him. And so I give that kid a lot of credit, right?
Yep.
He walked away from a lot of money that he could have walked right into 2 years from now. But he wants to be over here. He wants to prove himself, and he wants to play. And I give him a ton of credit for taking that risk. I mean, because that could completely blow up in his face, right? He could be the next LeVar Ball's son for the Lakers, where he, selling his $500 shoes before he ever, took one dribble in regular season NBA, and he's been a bit so far. But so I give him a lot of credit. It's not him doing this; it's everybody else. You're absolutely right.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds. So there's a couple things there. So I'm now, or at least anybody who's listening to this knows where I stand on the Ohtani talk, and I want to talk about.
I have to say, just to wrap it up, I see it's very easy to fall in love with his talent, right?
Yeah.
There are plenty of players who can throw a ball 100 miles an hour. There are plenty of players who can hit a ball 500 feet.
Few that can do both.
There are plenty of players who can go home to first. Well, there aren't plenty. There are a small number of players that can go home to first in 3.8 seconds. There's no one player that can do all of that, and now there very well may be.
Yeah, and that's where the talk is generated. So we can all certainly understand that. And there have been a lot of scouts that have actually said the same thing. We've seen guys do this and that. We've never seen one do all of that.
And that's the ridiculous thing, and that's the thing that I think that people have slept on, is the fact that he's not just a physical specimen who can hit the ball hard and throw the ball hard. He's fast. Like he is a true athlete.
Well,
and so it's crazy to speculate what he could become.
Think about the sport that we love right now, right? I mean, how many other players do we think that were capable of doing something like this? We could have had U.S. based players that were capable of actually doing this. But let me go to where I'm going here.
I know where you're going to go with this.
Because we're so sensitive these days to pitch counts, to rest, to this, that. And, a lot of money, these guys make a ton of money and they're big investments and there's a lot of risk involved. So I'm curious what the impact of this player is going to be, because he's not, okay, so he might be a mutant, but we've seen mutants before. We've seen mutants in the form of Bo Jackson. We've seen mutants in the form of Deion Sanders. So we've seen these mutants that can do all things and everything. And so it's just interesting how he's going to impact the game. If he actually comes over and has an impact as a pitcher, and he actually has an impact as Sarah, you can actually go ahead and make a noise. It's okay.
Hi, Sarah.
Shit. Yeah. But anyway, so if he can actually make an impact,
get her on screen.
She's already gone. But if she can actually make,
we need to increase the attraction.
Yeah, we do. And she would take it far. But anyway, if this guy could actually make an impact, both as a pitcher and a position player, as a bat, I mean, does it open the door, do you think, Pete? I mean, just in speculation, just looking out forward, does it actually open the door to say, hey, guys, the way you've been running U.S. baseball, you've been doing like football is done, where the guy is only a defensive player. He'll never we got to keep him safe. We can't do that because his focus has to be here. He's tender, our sensibilities and feelings now are hurt easier, and so he's got to only do this. And
it's funny that only seems to happen as you move up in levels, right? Because we know that in high school you have players who play both ways. In football, you have players who will pitch, 4 or 5 innings, and then they will go out to a position in the field, and not an outfielder. They'll move over to first, or they'll slide back to short. I mean,
or they'll go put the catching gear on.
Or they'll put the catching. Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's not uncommon in high school. But then once they get into college and it becomes an actual money-making venture, they don't want to take the chance that they could lose that player. And instead are willing to trade that for the potential of what that person could do going both ways. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point.
Yeah, and so it's interesting to see if it only takes one, right, to start knocking that barrier down a little bit, and all of a sudden you might see guys like, I mean, throw this guy out here because he had an arm, like he shot missiles out of that arm, dude. Sean Dunston, imagine him throwing him in the 9th inning. I mean, the guy had a rocket.
Well, and you guys touched on it briefly last week when I was unable to join you, but look at all the players who have gone from one position to another because they couldn't necessarily succeed in that. Kenley Jansen was a catcher. Wilson Contreras was a second baseman, I believe. He was an infielder. Moving these guys around, switching them from one position to another is not uncommon. And
it's not a bad thing.
It requires you to think outside of the box because baseball is so locked into its tradition.
And it's changing, though, which is both a scary and exciting thing if you think about it, right? I mean, because we're, look at this. Even up through the 80s, and I'd say even to the midway, late-ish 80s, that we were used to being able to buy our player jersey and know that that player is going to be around for 4 or 5 years, right? I mean, we never had any fear of that, right?
No.
Like, I bought an Ozzie Smith jersey. Not that I did, but if I would have bought one in 1984, I'm pretty sure in 5 or 6 years, he's still going to be my player at shortstop. And it's just so different. That was one change that I think most of us that were baseball card collectors in the 80s have struggled with. And that is that our kids grow up and they don't have that comfort that we did. Right. And so that's a shame, but that's the way things have gone. But I would say this, Pete, it's also affected the parity of the game as well. I think somewhat in a good way, because now guys are getting traded to teams that need them, whereas before, because the teams that have them can't afford or want to put their money somewhere else. So I'm saying this player movement's different, it's fluid, and I think we've seen I think a more diverse mix of teams getting into the postseason, which actually, if you step back and look at that's probably a good thing, right? I mean, it's got more cities involved, and now that the NFL is pissing everybody off, I think it's a good time for that to happen.
Yep, I agree.
I'm not talking about it. Hey, one thing, Pete, I got to bring this up before we start wrapping this up. Rafael Palmeiro. My goodness, I'm officially right now making the executive decision to replace the talk of Rafael Palmeiro making a comeback versus the pitch clock, which I know. What do you think, Pete? Did you read this?
Which one? I read both.
Rafael Palmeiro. I don't want to talk about the pitch clock. Jesus, the pitch clock is opposite of Viagra. It's like Novocaine straight to the frontal lobe. I don't care. It doesn't fire me up one way or the other. In fact, I shut my radio off on Baseball Talk today because they went on about they had a panel about the pitch clock.
The only way the pitch clock's going to make a difference is if they truly follow through and enforce and say that the hitter has to be in with 5 seconds left. If they're not going to enforce that, it's going to be impossible for them to enforce it on the pitchers.
My teeth are already falling asleep. But yes, I agree. If they enforce it, like every other rule they try to enact, if they actually enforce it and make it work, fine, make it work for them. Right, good. We're off that topic.
There we go.
Now on to something interesting. Not on to something interesting. Let me reenact something for you, okay?
Okay. Are you going to reenact Rafael Palmeiro?
I want to be very clear. I have never, ever done steroids. Ever. Is that about right?
Just about.
Did you have as much gray as I did?
I don't think so. I think that he actually had a little bit less.
He wasn't a just for men, but he strikes me as a Keith Hernandez type where he would have colored.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now what you weren't able to do was you weren't able to get popped for steroid use a couple of weeks later. That's the one thing that you left out of your reenactment. Otherwise, you nailed it.
Right. Well, I don't
nailed
remember it verbatim, but I do remember the press conference because McGuire and Sosa were both there, and all of a sudden Sammy forgot to speak English. How to, right? At that whole hearing.
If you wanted verbatim, let me start by telling you this. I have never used steroids, period. I don't know how to say it any more clearly than that. Never. So pretty good, Ron. Pretty close.
But wasn't it that next season? Like that happened in March of 2005.
It was within months. It was within weeks or months that he got popped.
Right.
Yeah, because I read this just the other day.
Stay classy.
I think it was in The Athletic, but yeah, it was tremendous. Yeah. Well done, Rafi.
Yeah. So he's now I don't know if this is a joking thing or not, Pete. If this is all a big hoax, but so he's considering at age 53. And neither one of us, neither you or me, are looking at that age and going, "My God, you should be in, a home by then."
Well, and I think I think what's making it difficult
because both you and I are rocketing towards mortality right now. Or at least we're in the inner crust of midlife crisis at some point in time. We're going to be, so anyway. I don't laugh at the age. It's like you've been out of the league now for 14 years.
Yeah.
Is this real or not? Or is this just a big joke?
So it was 6 weeks later that he tested positive. Yeah. No. So I read the whole article, and I think the big part of the problem is both of his kids are playing baseball. And
so he's like, I still got it.
Yes.
He's got that I still have it thing going on.
Yes.
Pete, here's what I want to see, right? In order to help baseball and the fans and everything itch scratches like this sorry, Jesus, I said that backwards. In order for fans like us, right, to help these players scratch the itch they have to get out and prove themselves again, I would be totally interested in this. Let me put this out there for you.
Okay.
Not just an old timers game where there's stupid shit ass rules where they have shorter fences, they have celebrities that don't know what the hell they're doing, like. Have an old timers game like they used to, but don't call it an old timers game because we're all sensitive now, right? I mean, they're still
Speak
part of this.
Yourself, white boy.
Yes, I'm going to speak for all guys like me right now, which okay, so I happen to be the way I am, but I would love to see a showcase of guys like Will Clark, Larry Walker. Hell, even put McGuire and Sammy in if anybody can recognize him anymore. He might not get through security, Pete, because
he's going to show his ID and they're going to say, "This isn't you. This is a black man.
It's never going to get through.
This is not you." And Ron, you'll walk by and you'll say, "Hey, come here, sir. This man stole your ID."
I could go in there and represent myself as Sammy Sosa at this point, because it might as well just be. But I seriously, on all seriousness, though, I mean, to help guys like this deal with this kind of thing, I would love to see a showcase or a home run derby of guys that are still like you think can probably pop a few over the fence. I would love to see it. I would love to see a retired home run derby or show expo. These guys, how can they still handle a bat, right? I mean, I would love to. I mean,
but no steroids.
I don't care. They're retired and over 50. I don't give a shit what they do anymore. I don't care. I mean, they can hit their vitamins like Hulkamania. I don't give a shit what they do. But I would love to see it. I mean, imagine if Tony Gwynn was still around, I would love to see how he could still handle outside pitches and hit to all fields. I think it'd be great, right? I mean, to still see that at his age.
You know that if Tony Gwynn was still around and hitting, he would probably still hit over 300. With all of his little flares to left.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see a gathering
because he would be so much smarter than pitchers today.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They would make so many mistakes against him.
I'd love to see the first dumbass young manager that had, yet one more baseball coach they hired who has absolutely no managing experience whatsoever. Decides to employ the shift against a guy like Tony Gwynn, who
forget it.
Okay, well, I'll destroy that real quick.
He was so good with the bat, he would actually intentionally hit it into the shift and still get a base hit.
I believe that, man. He was like a pool player, right?
I mean, he would find the hole in the shift,
exactly,
and intentionally hit it there.
And he's probably one of the guys that could tell the pitcher, I know where you're going to throw it. I'm going to hit it right down there. And they're going to be like, and he's going to do it.
Well, that was actually one of the interesting things in the Palmeiro story. Apparently he was playing in a minor league game a couple of years ago. I think it was an exhibition or something.
Yeah.
And he went out and he got a single and then got moved up to second. I don't know, walk, whatever. Anyway, he ended up at second. When he was at second base, and he was talking to the shortstop. And he said something along the lines of, "This punk pitcher is going to try and throw me something soft outside the next time at bat, and I'm going to hit a double to the gap on him." And he did. He tried to slip something by him outside, and he hit a ball to the gap, and he didn't double because his hamstrings hurt, and he stopped at first base.
I think that's what's going to kill your comeback right there.
But he did. He was correctly able to identify exactly how the pitcher was going to work him in the very next at bat.
Well, see, and that's the shame. I say this, and getting a little bit more serious tone here. That's the shame of these guys being out of baseball, like guys like him.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Because they can,
and pitchers like Greg Maddux.
Yes, and guys like him who, sabermetrics and analytics weren't what they are now when these guys were playing. I mean, I think these guys could be of tremendous benefit. They could be that perfect blend of the analytics and sabermetrics that are coming in now. And I didn't say the perfect blend of steroids, but the perfect blend of like the eye test, right? Like, what have I experienced? What to look for, tendencies, what get into guys' heads. What are they thinking? And I really think the whole analytics and sabermetrics thing, I know you think I hate it. I don't hate it. I think it can be used. I think it has value, but I also think it's not the be all end all.
You can't be a slave to it.
No, you can't be, because if I were a manager or a coach, I'd be right now, like, you see this book right here, and it's carrying this file folder. I mean, somebody new who we just acquired, or a new minor leaguer we called up, I'd say, I'd throw down a stack of paper and I'm like, this is you. This is your DNA as a baseball player.
No, it wouldn't be. It'd be an iPad.
Right. Well, fine. But yeah, it's the midlife crisis coming up. But anyway, but I slammed that iPad full of 3 gigabytes of data on a guy's tendencies and his DNA as a baseball player. I'm like, it's your job now to prove all this shit wrong.
Yeah.
Right. That should be it. And you don't do that with Bill James. You do that with bringing guys like Willie McGee back, bringing a guy like Rafael Palmeiro. Somebody get him into training camp and let him work with youngsters. I mean, I know he screwed up. He did something wrong. He shouldn't have done that. But
yeah, he should be a hitting coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he made a statement like that, and Pete, I wasn't thinking that going in today until you told me that part of the story, which I didn't read. But yeah, of course.
Well, think about it. You know, sluggers like Anthony Rizzo and particularly Joey Votto are the exception because they actually have a two-strike approach. And they're not selling out for the home. You look at how much those two choke up. They choke up more in a single at bat than some guys will choke up the entire season. And they just don't. You have all these young players who see no value in getting on base and keeping the line moving. And there is something to be said for that. And that was very much when you and I grew up watching baseball. That was the standard. That was the expectation. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter if you hit a home run. What mattered is you got on base and gave your teammate a chance to drive you in.
Yeah, well, when baseball becomes, when it becomes a game of like blackjack, where it's just chance and it's just statistics and it's just probability, it's just not as fun. And
I agree.
When you throw, I think that what we did was imagine, you're just driving on a road and you swerved too much into one lane. And I think that's what we did with analytics. We thought all of a sudden we saw the movie Moneyball and the way the A's were doing it. And we went in a violent direction, like, oh shit, we all have to do this. But I think what's happening now is like, we're realizing that all that stuff actually has a good purpose. It's actually good, but you cannot like completely 100% depart from what has always worked. And that is the eye test. That is the talking to guys who have been there before, getting their advice. I mean, how many guys you think somebody like Rafael Palmeiro could help if he was in spring training and worked with a lot of minor leaguers or up and coming young guys to say, look, here's what to look for on a 1 and 2 count. How is that not helpful?
Right. I agree.
So anyway, it's a funny story. We're not going to see him in spring training.
No.
In 2018, but I would hope that something like this brings a guy like him and others who have made mistakes. They were a product of the era they were from. And a lot of us don't forgive them for everything they've done. Obviously, none of them are going to get in the Hall of Fame, at least probably in our lifetime. But it'd be good to see some of these guys back in baseball in some capacity.
It would, except for Sammy Sosa. He can stay away.
Well, I
although you know what, he probably could get back into baseball as long as he doesn't try to convince everybody that he's Sammy Sosa. He could come in and say that he's Samuel Sauce and he would like to help you play the baseball, and nobody would know the difference because
my name is Carl Smith. Yep, welcome. I don't know if there's any new pictures of him that have surfaced, but I don't know.
I just saw. I didn't take a look at the picture, but I saw something today as I was quickly surfing. There was I don't know what it was, but I didn't click through to find the link, but I'm sure it was just another link of Sammy looking whiter than you and I. So, which is really white.
Nobody gets whiter than me,
that
especially
is really, really white.
Right. All right, man.
Transparent, man.
He is. You can see his blood type through his skin. Anyway, so Pete, another good show. A great year. I'm so looking forward to next week for multiple reasons. We've already covered it, but I'm going to cover it again. We got winter meetings and we got Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and holy shit, there's going to be shows and there's going to be talk and I'm not even going to take the stuff down because it's not even worth it. I'm just going to leave it.
Yeah, Sarah, take that.
I'll take it down.
I think we can probably anticipate an extra long, at least YouTube podcast next week. Don't you think? We'll take care of the baseball news and then we'll roll right in.
I think we'll roll right in, and I'll actually ask my brother if he wants to do a joint effort to get out his second or third episode to see if he wants to just roll it into that. He might be able to, and so
that'd be great. I mean, but if we don't record an episode until Saturday, I'll have already seen the show. I'll have seen the movie at least twice. So
well, I will too. I'm taking the kids and Sarah. We're all going on the Saturday after, and then.
If we're talking about Saturday night, then I'll have seen it 3 times.
Oh, lucky you.
So yeah, well, I'm taking the boy to a fan event Thursday and dropping him off at his mom's and then immediately going back to the theater with my friends. So I'm going to be the asshole who's sitting there going, 5 seconds before the really big, before Ray Force calls Kylo Ren's lightsaber. Don't get mad at me about spoilers, you idiots. I know you've seen the trailer today.
Yeah, and any of you don't give us your shit. Don't fire at us on Twitter or anything else.
You saw it. It's everywhere.
This is public. It's everywhere. Give me a break. Most of you don't care anyway.
That's right.
Get out of here.
Speaking of which, did you finally get through and listen to RFR this week?
No, you told me about that.
I heard
them talking about it.
Yes.
They were talking about it. So I got that.
They are coming to my school and they're going to start promoting it on their website. Well, actually they already are promoting it on their website.
They're promoting it more than the website. They said they had a Patreon thing go out. Hold on, dude.
Yeah, they're hitting it hard, man.
You might not even know. You might not even know about this. They had a Patreon thing. Hold on.
Did they really? They sent it out to their Patreons.
Yeah. Hang on. Hold on. Nope. I could be wrong about that, I guess. No, I thought they did. I thought they did. I've had like 4 emails from Patreon since Tuesday. But no, that wasn't one of them. But yes, I mean, I heard the podcast, and maybe they had it on their Facebook page or something. But I've seen it where they're talking about join us for this thing at
join us at my school before they go. Yes, it does. And before they then run over to Hollywood Boulevard Cinemas.
Are you going to say it? Are you going to say it to anybody on here? I mean, or is it?
Oh, yeah, I might as well. I mean, it's public knowledge. Yeah, Lyons Township High School in LaGrange, Illinois.
I was holding off. I didn't want to say it, man.
Yeah, no. It's fine. I mean, it's a public thing. We're inviting the public in, and we're prepared if we need to move into a bigger space. It's going to be, it won't be live streamed, but it will be recorded by our in-house television station. It'll be up on YouTube. It'll be on our website. It'll be hosted. So if you're unable to attend, Ron, you'll be able to watch.
I'm pretty sure I'll be here.
Yeah? You're not going to make it up?
Nope. Are you going to get to talk to Jimmy and Jason?
Yeah, I've been helping to coordinate this whole thing.
Oh, so you're in with them now.
I opened the door. I was the one who gave the name and the contact info. I broached the subject with you, and I'm not taking credit for it. I broached the subject with Jimmy almost 3 years ago now about him coming in and speaking to our kids. And
yeah, you told me about it.
Yeah,
he told me about it when I mentioned it I was on a Q&A with him.
Yeah, I've got a new Sci-Fi Club sponsor, and he's a huge Star Wars geek. And so when I told him about it, he totally grabbed it with both hands, and he's run it down. So yeah, cool. It all worked out. Jimmy and Jason and Sheldon are going to be there. They're going to record they're going to record it. I'm sure Sheldon's going to include it in whatever next documentary he's shooting for them. Obviously, we're going to put it up from LT's standpoint, and I'm sure that RFR will link to it. And if there's any good quotes or anything, they'll put it up as well. But they're not just going to talk about Last Jedi. They're going to talk about podcasting, how they got into the whole thing, some of their speculation and everything. So it's going to be a pretty cool opportunity.
I was going to say that, one of our point of contact here, Pete, who's coordinated all this, is actually a podcaster himself, their Team of Rivals podcast. And
we've listened to it, and it's a piece of shit.
Stop, man. We turned the corner tonight. Everything's different. Double middle fingers to all you doubters.
Are we done? I think we're done.
Get out.
All right. Out. So you guys already know this because obviously you're listening to it, but please do tell your friends that we're on just about every major avenue that you can find in order to listen to a podcast, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, and then we are all over the YouTubes with our live podcasts, which I think has added another dimension. It's kind of fun. Ron can no longer turn off his camera anymore, so it's good to see his non-smiling face for at least an hour every week.
Yep.
And then Facebook.
Pretty proud of it.
You should be. Facebook, just look for Team of Rivals Podcast on there. Instagram, at Team of Rivals Podcast. Twitter, at Team of Rivals Pod. And, of course, there's the website, ably administered by my counterpart on the other side of the video, teamofrivalspodcast.com. And you can communicate with us at the show at show at
The
Team
show.
of Rivals.
No, you're right.
Oh,
The
it's
show.
the show. See, my instincts were right. The show at Team of Rivals podcast.com. We are obviously very grateful for all of you, and our hope is that in the new year, let's be daring. Let's double the number of regular listeners we have.
Double. I'm all about doubling things.
All right, let's double.
Yeah. No, great exit there, Pete. It's been a great year. I'm looking forward to another one. And by the way, so it was my company's Christmas party tonight, and I wasn't able to go because I had a prior commitment, and that was this. This is what I'm committed to. But Zach and Alexander, I hope you guys are having fun, but just know this. You are not having near as much fun as I would have been there, but take care of the crew, and see you guys soon. Pete, hope you have a good week. Had to throw a little shout. I see a look on your face, but I had to throw a little shout out to the coworkers there. You know, they were asking me if I was going to show up tonight, but I just couldn't do it, man. This is it. This is what I do. This is our 1 year anniversary. I'm not gonna miss it.
I have a previous, far more important commitment. Hell no. Yeah, I actually passed up drinks tonight with a friend who I haven't seen in a while. He wanted to go out for drinks, and I was like, no, we're doing the show. So
yep, doing the show.
Priorities.
Doing the show. Eventually, everybody will know it. Oh, he's doing a show. Don't talk to him. Yeah. So,
and we'll talk about it after the show.
Yeah, we will. We will. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. It's been a great year. We love the support we've had, and we love more reviews and ratings and shares. And so, listen to Pete when he says that. He's going to do it twice now. And if we don't increase those ratings, I'm gonna ask him to do it 3 times per show, which you don't want that to happen. As much as I don't want to hear Ohtani's name anymore pronounced by American media. Anyway, everybody, have a great week. We'll be talking to you next week. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be action-packed. We have the winter meetings coming up, and we have other things that non-sci-fi fans don't want to hear about, but I don't care. You're going to hear about it anyway. If you don't like it, download a different one. All right. Love you all. Talk to you soon. Let me stop it.